Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is our last show ever in Studio A.
Welcome on in, guys, to the AZ Wildcats podcast, coming to you live for the last time at HQ in beautiful, lovely downtown Phoenix. I am Damon Fairall. That is Kevin Thomas, and we are here ready to talk all the news and notes regarding Arizona athletics from a basketball standpoint down to what's going on at fall camp with football. But Kevin, I gotta say, it's looking pretty bare bones as I'm staring around in the office here. We're taking all our great decorations off the wall of our great kind of vintage AZ sports media pennants, flags, you name it, scarves, bobbleheads, and it's like living in an empty home.
I will say there is nothing like working at a sports media company, though, during moving time. I'm learning this for the first time. I've gotten a couple very nice bobbleheads to add to my collection as a result of
Home
people
office.
just simply not wanting them. Yeah, the home office, you might even see a couple items. Who knows what's going to be going on there. Speaking of home office, tomorrow's show will be coming to you from our home setups, as tomorrow's show will
Not
be
excited
remote.
for that. Kevin you're going to embarrass me tomorrow, dude.
I'm also, this will be the first real true test of my internet. So it should be fine, but not as excited as maybe. I'm a little nervous for that, but
That's fair.
I gotta test the car out for the first time.
I live in a house with two other guys that like playing video games, so
Yeah.
we have extremely fast internet in our place, so that's not really a concern for me. Mine is more so the fact that I have zero wall decorations in and around my room, despite having moved in there 2 months ago, because I feel like I don't know. I mean, I wanted to say that that's like guy behavior, but you're a guy. And you're hanging up stuff. We freaking too.
Maybe it's the fact that I was raised by a mom, like single mom situation. Maybe I'm just interior decor kind of kid.
You are
but
slightly more. You are a more emotional guy.
Yeah.
I mean, you're in touch with your feelings. It's very beautiful.
Yeah. Very much all of that. But excited for tomorrow's show.
Maybe it's all just a kind of a trickle down, Kevin.
It probably is. Michael says you just got to go with the Zoom filter on the background.
Yeah,
Like, you can come to us from the Bahamas. You can come to us from Turks and Caicos, from a library if you wanted to. Make yourself seem really smart. You can do anything with the power of technology, Damon. And like you said, this is our last show in here in Studio A. And I would be remiss to say, like, I'm excited for the new studio. Obviously, it's going to be great. And our setup's going to be probably even better than what we got going on now. But I'm going to miss this little setup. We've been rocking with this since we started the pod. So it's going to be an adjustment for us to have a nice, shiny studio to work with.
Definitely. What would be really odd, Kevin, is if we end up doing that whole producer room situation at the new studio like we talked about, and me and you are literally in different rooms talking Arizona Wildcats athletics. But
that could be a good thing for some certain discussions. You never know.
It could be, and it could be a good thing just for me and you having to sit next to each other
Correct.
every day as well, and text each other nonstop. And I mean, maybe it's a little bit of the distance we needed, Kevin.
Yes.
But
yes.
I'll tell you what. You know what I don't need distance from? Some actual ball being played in front of my face. Whether that's basketball, football, I don't care. I just want to watch sports and I want to talk about it. We're still kind of in the depth of the off season here, Kevin. Football fast approaching. We are Jace Whitaker days away. Shout out Juan Serrano. 17. If you didn't remember Jace Whitaker's number, but yeah, man, it's a good time, to kind of get, I'd say, like, kind of rejuiced for this season, because it's coming up on us fast, and I know that we're excited for it.
This is that time of year where you really start to be thankful for the sports when they are on, because
Totally.
you've now missed them for so long, and you just want them to be around. You want something to be on. I've been watching a lot of WNBA when I get home, and it just reminds me of, like, I can't wait for the quad box on my brand redacted streaming service that I use. to just be filled with all different types of sports. You got WNBA. You're going to have college football coming up. You got NFL football coming up. Baseball is still going. It's always going. I'm not sure when baseball's not going. And yeah.
Baseball low-key has the best offseason. Derek and I were talking about it. Not in terms of content. It's the worst by far. But in terms of like when you get the offseason actually, free holidays, does that do anything for anybody? I mean, meanwhile, you know, if you cover an NFL team, it's Christmas Eve and Damon, Fairall, Bo Brock, and Johnny Venerable are covering the Bears beating the Cardinals by 30 points. But if you cover a baseball team, you get to just kind of kick your feet up and be like, happy Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yeah, no, in the offseason is that kind of time where you're like, it's just you've had nothing to do. You've had nothing to talk about. You've spoken about your specific sports that you're a fan of for so many months at this time that when it's taken away, you're like, what do I even talk about? Right? And yesterday, or I believe it was yesterday, Southwest Bias episode, you know, Suns off season, Cardinals off season, a lot of off seasons going around the state of Arizona, the freedom state of Arizona right now. And our GM, Espo, there he is.
The most hated man in Tucson himself in the flesh.
He put out this list on yesterday's episode of Southwest Biased, alluding to the face of the state, as in who is the current face of the freedom state of Arizona as it relates to sports. Now, you could have, I believe Espo's criteria was active players, right? So you could, you know, in theory, you could have thrown Larry Fitz on there. You could have thrown Gonzo on there, right? But I think of the active players right now. Yeah, facts. This is what Espo had for his face of the state. Now, I feel like because of the state of social media, I must reiterate audibly, this is not me and Damon's list of the face of the state. This, as you can see with the cartoon head at the top center, very prominently placed, is Espo's personal opinion on who is the face of the state right now. And obviously you see Devin Booker in a tier on his own. He's reached that mountaintop. Corbin Carroll and Kenny Dillingham making up the second tier. K1, Cattell, and Trey McBride making the third tier. Buda Baker, Marv, Sam Levitt, and Alyssa Thomas. And then Matt Ishbia, Michigan State man himself. No Fafita.
Friend of the company.
True. Tommy Lloyd, JG, and a freaking gorilla.
A literal gorilla.
A gorilla. Unbelievable.
I think this is the moment where we say the views and opinions of Espo do not equally represent every employee at this company and the thoughts of the company as a whole. We should record a disclaimer every time that we put one of these Espo Southwest Bias graphics on it. But I'll tell you what, you know, as much as people get fired up on Twitter about it and then they kind of overarchingly make this even in a kind of an off-brand way. I'm not saying anyone is directly accusing us of this, but they somewhat associate this with our opinion as well, just given the fact that we work for PHNX Sports. But it's like Espo can attest to this. Kevin and I were arguing with him as he was leaving the office yesterday, delaying him from seeing his family so that I could argue with him about Tommy Lloyd versus Kenny Dillingham. Like, we are fired up as well. And you have on here as the little show thing, like it was Tommy Lloyd disrespected. 1,000%. Top 10 winningest coach in year 1. Top 10 winningest coach in year 2. Top 10 winningest coach through year 3. Top 10 winningest coach through year 4. I mean, at what point do we just say this guy's one of the greatest coaches that we have in the sport? And Kenny Dillingham, like, as great as he is, and as much as, you know, I like straight up, like, he's the way that he's turned around ASU has been nothing short of phenomenal. It's been one season. It's been 1 year, right? And when I say that, it's actually been 2, because the first year was 3-9.
It's been one successful year.
I'll give them a little bit of a pass for that, similar to how Jed Fish came in and won 1 game in his first season. And even though ASU fans did not give Jed Fish a pass for that, I will be the bigger man in this situation and say, hey, you know what? ASU had a ton of quarterback injuries that year. Kenny was getting his guys in the room. Herm Edwards let the program in disarray, blah, blah, blah. But he still went 3-9. That's a fact. That's actually what happened. Tommy Lloyd took over a team that didn't make the tournament, and they were the number 2 team in the final AP poll of the season.
Yeah.
For year 1.
I mean, I was going to say, in relation to your disclaimer real quick, I think I should just cut what you said at the beginning and just reply to every one of Espo's lists with your clip of saying, like, this does not represent the AZ Wildcats podcast, our thoughts and opinions. But yeah, like you said, Tommy Lloyd disrespected on that face of the state list. And if we're talking about representing the state of Arizona, the man was picked by USA Basketball to represent their U19 squad. And I think you got coaches in all 50 states that have a good resume for that kind of a thing. And Tommy Lloyd was the one that was chosen. Out of what state? The state of Arizona. And so I feel like, yes, you could do the grocery store test and go ask 1,000 grandmas in the state of Arizona, who do you recognize, this man or this man? And it's pictures of Kenny and Tommy. And yeah, many people will probably recognize Kenny Dillingham over Tommy Lloyd.
I mean, I would hope so. The guy's addicted to the camera. We've been over this on this show.
He's always on ESPN. He's always on, whatever show is at the bar or where at the airport, whatever, because that is the hot topic right now.
And football is just inherently bigger than basketball.
Yes, and so I get all of that, and I think I speak for both of us when I say this. Damon and I's beef with Espo's list is not where he put Kenny Dillingham. It's how low he placed Tommy Lloyd. I could care less about if we're comparing the resumes of, and here's the man in question. Can I address you? The man just comes over and places a pair of scissors on the table next to me.
He's gonna cut the mics.
I was like, yo, is this it? I was like, I'm one day away from being employed here a year, and all of a sudden you're throwing scissors on me.
All right, I just wanted to come on this program and apologize that I've made your jobs harder, and that I feel sorry for both of you. All right, I feel sorry that my opinion has caused issues for you. It is solely my opinion, and if you want to hate me for my opinion, I'm used to it. I've been on the internet for 20 plus years now, giving my opinion, and has nothing to do with these two guys. I just make their life tougher, and I genuinely am sorry that I've made your life tougher, and I feel bad for both of you.
Espo, do not feel bad for us. This is what we live for. This is what we signed up for, working for a company that is based out of Phoenix, covering the University of Arizona.
Correct.
And if anyone that knows me truly in my heart of hearts knows that I literally wake up in the morning for this specifically. So,
yes,
we didn't have a whole lot in the way of content. Now we got something to talk about.
Yeah, we had a whole first segment. We really, we do have a lot of content to talk to in the second half of the show, but I really am thankful we had this to talk about because it does give us another chance to big up Tommy Lloyd, right?
It does. And Sam puts it here in the comments, and I think that Sam has this is where I agree with it's not necessarily it's easy to draw the Kenny comparison because that's the ASU coach that's on the graphic versus the U of A coach that's on the graphic. I think that me and you, Kevin, are both fairly being football's a little bigger than basketball. They had a more notoriable season, at least because it came from nowhere, whereas Tommy Lloyd is just going to continue to lose 5 games every season until he hangs them up. We don't need the accolades. We'll just continue to be a top 10 program in the nation year in and year out, right? I think maybe Kenny is a little bit more recognizable in a random Arizona grocery store if that's the test that we're doing to put this list together. But to Sam's point, Trey McBride, the gorilla. I mean, I guess the gorilla is recognizable.
I hear you.
Gorilla's behind Tommy.
The gorilla, Trey McBride, and then the differential between Kenny Dillingham and Tommy Lloyd. Those are the ones that I think are so we are in disagreement about. And in regards to Kyler, for example, when we had our all half decade team discussion, Kevin, we were talking about this exact thing, right? In terms of face of the state, Kyler belongs, I think, in this tier. I don't think he belonged on the all half decade team over a T-Mac because he hasn't done that on the field yet. But yes, he has a ton of star power. He's very recognizable. He plays for he's the starting quarterback of the football team. The other thing is that I think Corbin and Cattell should be swapped probably. But yeah, I mean, I it's more so looking at the other people and just kind of dissecting them and being that doesn't feel like we're being necessarily consistent here.
I love, and shout out to Stephen Prejean Gardner over here to my right. I love Alyssa Thomas has yet to complete her first season in the Valley, right? And I don't know. I just feel like the qualifications for what the tiers were, I think maybe could have been a little bit more clearer, and I think it maybe could have helped the list find its right audience.
So yeah, and that's not to, if we're doing straight up, let's be real with this. And me and you both are big supporters of women's basketball. We love women's basketball. We talk about it on this show a lot, I'd say, for and try to cover it at the best of our abilities. If we're doing the grocery store face test,
yeah,
and we're scaling football is bigger than basketball, then how could you possibly put Alyssa Thomas above Tommy Lloyd? Let's check the ratings. You know what I mean? So like I'm not trying to in any way, like tear down women's basketball at all. I'm just saying that let's keep the logic consistent with that, because Tommy Lloyd has in fact been more successful than Kenny Dillingham. But if your argument is that football is more popular than men's basketball, then let's keep it consistent and say men's basketball is more popular than women's basketball.
Yeah, and I think like being even if you don't like make that specific argument, I think Tommy Lloyd's level at which he coaches men's basketball at the college level is notable enough, right? Like Team USA quality coach, one of the winningest coaches in his first X amount of seasons at his school. Like the level is just so high that I think that the ranking of Tommy Lloyd was kind of insane, but it was Espo's opinion, and that's my opinion, and that's why it's okay.
There was another list, Kevin, that was put out by I think like College Basketball Report or something that had a coach ranking all-encompassing, and they had Tommy Lloyd 15th on that list.
Wow.
Did you see that? And
no.
What are your thoughts on being ranked 15th?
I don't know if I saw that specific one that you're referencing. I saw one recently that had him at like 8 or something, I think, and I remember the names ahead of him, and I could see their logic there, but 15th, I don't know if you can get 14 guys that are better at their job than Tommy Lloyd at the college coaching ranks, right? I don't know if that's possible for you to really do without trying to really stretch an argument or make a projection as to what they could be. I think in terms of power ranking college basketball coaches to where they are right now, Tommy Lloyd, top 10. Like in my opinion, there's no way you can't have him in the top 10. In my opinion, he should be just outside that top 5, most likely when you really map it out. I think you could have him just outside that top 5, but yeah, having him outside the top 10 is kind of crazy to me.
This is going to sound so like I'm in my own world, but I just want everybody to hear me out here for a second. I just feel like it's so easy to like disrespect Arizona in particular on lists like this, whether it's the Espo list or this head coaches list. Like Tommy Lloyd is 15th on this list, and his lowest ranked team finished 15th in his 4 seasons at Arizona.
And the fan base was apoplectic.
It was last season. And there were people that were like, should we fire Tommy?
They're like, how long does he have to not win a national championship here?
I mean, looking at this top 50 coaches list, Kevin, and reading down to Tommy's ranking, and you can kind of stop me if you want to talk about any of these, but it's Dan Hurley number 1, Kelvin Sampson number 2. I have no quarrels with that.
Correct.
Mark Fuse number 3. We could argue.
You could argue, yeah.
Tommy Lloyd has a lot to do with Mark Few's success.
Yeah.
And
the chicken or the egg,
Since Tommy Lloyd has left, Gonzaga has been not as good, not as nationally prominent, not as much of a contender for the title. And Arizona essentially has, for a few, I guess maybe not every year they were like a true contender, but I do think that was a big miss for Gonzaga there. You have Rick Pitino 4, Matt Painter 5, Bill Self 6, Nate Oates 7, Bruce Pearl 8, John Shire 9, Todd Golden 10, Scott Drew 11, Tom Izzo 12, Chris Beard 13, and Rick Barnes 14.
I feel like in that John Shire range, we should be talking about Tommy Lloyd. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like John
Shire, what has he done?
Yeah. Like I think that's kind of what I was getting at of like, are we projecting or are we doing like based on accomplishments and what they've done like already?
Yeah, because that's why Bill Self is so high. It's why Tom Izzo's higher than Tommy Lloyd. I mean, they have resumes, right? And they're 2 of the greatest coaches of all time. Rick Pitino, another one, even though St. John's was great last season. But, those are legends of the game who have earned that right. But if we're going off of, like, resume, how is John Shire's resume better than Tommy Lloyd's?
In fact, it is not. And I think, like, again, this is what I get back to. John Shire
is an Israeli Cup champion.
Let's go. Well, I did not know that, actually. That's a fun fact. But, I in terms of, like, what he's done so far as a head coach. One Final Four. I just don't know if that equals all the W's that Tommy Lloyd has accumulated in his short tenure as Arizona's coach. And even in the shorter tenure that John Shire's had, he's clearly got the chops to be one of the top coaches in the country.
Absolutely.
But I think Tommy Lloyd has showcased more of that skill set at the high level.
He was bored on third base a little bit too, I will say, with John Shire.
With the Duke thing.
And not that Arizona is like he pulled us out of the mud, similar to, the Dillingham discussion from earlier. It's not like that. I don't want to portray it as that, but like Sean Miller didn't have this team like grasp, grasping for air. But at the same time, they were a team that didn't make the tournament. They were a team that was kind of on the downturn for a good handful of years at that point. Like they were just kind of slowly getting worse and worse and worse. I think Tommy Lloyd brought this program back to where it needs to be, and he did so immediately, like the second that he stepped on campus.
And if we're projecting, again, if I am to go crazy and do these rankings on like, well, Tommy Lloyd could do this. You could argue that Tommy Lloyd not only is trying to get Arizona back to its peak of where it once was, but that he's maybe on pace to get Arizona to new heights that they have yet to see. Now, obviously, you're standing on the shoulders of the heights that Lute Olson has accomplished and that Sean Miller attempted to reach. But being able to actually get over that hump could take Arizona into a place that it's never experienced before, in terms of being a multiple-time national champion, in terms of being able to recruit at the true highest level. Arizona is already at the upper echelon of recruitment and being able to get 5-star recruits coming in. You look at the 2025 class as a prime example of that. The 2026 class is already building. But getting that second national championship, it puts you into some really rarefied air. And when recruits start looking at, what have you done for me lately? Because if we're being honest, like
that's why Todd Golden's above Tommy Lloyd on the list.
In terms of like,
Drew.
What have you done for me lately? There are other coaches in the country that could have I was just in this national championship game, or I just went to this Final Four and blah, blah, blah. Tommy Lloyd can't necessarily say that, you know what I mean? But he can lean on the player recruitment that is real. He can lean on the pro pipeline that is real. And he can lean on the relationships that him, Murph, and TJ Benson have been building. That is all real. And so I think the last piece for Tommy Lloyd is that true postseason success to rely on, and it could skyrocket him into a totally different echelon of college coaching. But again, that's projection. It could go the other way. He could never get over the hump, and putting him that high could look foolish. So that's why I kind of think John Shire, like Sam Albert says in the chat, is mostly ahead of him because he has that Final Four appearance that Tommy Lloyd doesn't have. But I think that's kind of silly to put a guy over Tommy Lloyd just because he made one Final Four, right? With arguably the best college recruit since Zion, right? And Cooper Flag.
Yeah, I mean, and he gets credit for accumulating that talent and recruiting that team. But it does feel like Tommy is somewhat like mirrored like the Sean Miller recruiting success with like the Lute Olson kind of vibes of the program and players wanting to come play for Arizona and whatnot. And hopefully that does lead to a time where like we can look back and be like, who's our best coach ever? I mean, wouldn't that be incredible?
Yeah.
If you could have that debate and again, like, don't get mad at me. Don't get up in arms. That would be good problems to have, right?
It'd be really good problems to have.
And Lute Olson will always be the builder of this program, Becky Burke style.
Shout out.
But I think that Tommy can certainly, with some postseason success, as you mentioned, kind of, has an opportunity. He's still so young too, to really like make his own mark at Arizona. And then we talk about the postseason success. Like, honestly, Kevin, I want to know how many coaches in their first 4 seasons have made 3 Sweet 16.
Exactly.
Because people talk about like, and this is a big ASU fan thing too. Like Tommy Lloyd is a choker. That's nothing to slouch about. I'm not saying that it's like the Clemson Sweet 16 game should have been a W. Everyone agrees. It was a terrible loss. You should have been in the Elite Eight, 100%, right? But you still made it to the Sweet 16, and you've made 3 in 4 years. Like that's impressive. That's not easy to do, and it doesn't make you like a choker per se. It just means that you haven't necessarily gone as far as maybe what would be considered a successful season by this fan base. Because I've said on the show, Sweet 16s don't really do it for me anymore. I'm not sitting there fist pumping Sweet 16s like a Sun Devil fan would, winning a play-in, field of 68 game. But like I still, I don't want it to seem like he's like, I feel like it's been misconstrued that he's like this like choker when it comes to late season success, postseason success. And in reality, he has 2 regular season championships, 2 conference tournament championships, and he made it to the conference tournament game in the hardest conference in the country last year. Feels like he's, for the most part, minus that Princeton year, like it's been fairly good postseason success, truly.
It has been, and you have to like we talked about We talk about it all the time with postseason success as it relates to all sports, but specifically college basketball, right? Like it takes fortune, it takes luck to advance to a national championship, to win a national championship. And what is luck? It is preparation combined with opportunity, right? And Tommy Lloyd is preparing these teams for these opportunities. And like Edgar Ortiz says in the chat, coaches can only do so much. You actually have to go out and play the games, and the players do that,
Yeah.
right? And I think that Tommy Lloyd has obviously learned from some of these early marks on his record, right? The Princeton, the Clemson. And I think that this year, and I don't know, maybe it's too early to say this, but I'll say it. I think this year, if Tommy Lloyd has anything even close to resembling like a tournament loss that Arizona has no business losing like that, I feel comfortable putting all of that on Tommy Lloyd, unless there's some sort of extenuating circumstance, like a player, heaven forbid, gets injured or gets sick and misses a game or whatever. It kind of feels like that would be on Tommy Lloyd this time around, right? Because you've put all the pieces in place, as I said in my show tweet, to have one of the best teams on paper on offense and defense in 2025. And I feel like now is the time, right? You've had, I think, pretty clear flaws in some past rosters with Tommy Lloyd teams that you in the back of your head understand like could cost you at any moment in a game, right? Last year it was the anemic offense, right? At any moment, Arizona could go 5 minutes without a made field goal and also not be able to get to the free throw line. And that totally wipes out your win percent chance, right? And I think that there aren't as many holes in this upcoming year's roster to even poke at. And so, yes, you want to see a Final Four. You want to see a national championship appearance and a national championship victory.
Yeah.
But it takes time to build up to that. And I think Tommy Lloyd, he's being given the time by DRF and by Arizona, as he really should. But I think, in general, the fan base should give him the time that it takes to build an elite level program and get that snowball rolling, like we've talked about with recruiting in that vacuum, but just in general, it goes across the board, right? The coaching, the recruiting, the on-court performance, the practice level, all of that rolls into actually finally getting that postseason success, like you alluded to, like Kobe alluded to. Not many coaches have done what Tommy Lloyd has done in his first half decade as a leader of that program or any program. And so I do think that it must be taken into account. Like when you're talking postseason success, he's making it year over year. And there's not these years where it's just like, what happened? Why didn't they make the tournament that year? I feel confident saying that Arizona will make the tournament every year under Tommy Lloyd. And that should not even be a question.
Just like the Lute Olson days.
Exactly. But I think in saying that, right, it makes other people that aren't us, aren't Arizona diehards, aren't Arizona, fanatics, like they kind of take it for granted. And so when Tommy Lloyd doesn't make it all the way to the promised land, like Brayden Burries is going to take us, according to Brayden Burries' views, like it makes people look at it and say like, well, why didn't he do the job? And it's like, well, he's done a better job actually than 300 plus programs in the country by making it to that Sweet 16. And so, yeah, I'm totally with you on that. The postseason success should projected to come, but right now, the Sweet 16s, I think you have to commend him for, even though there are some legitimate criticisms to levy at him in results of those individual games, Princeton, Clemson, to name a few.
And I think last year's team really could have made a deeper run too. They just unfortunately ran into a team that was a really bad matchup for them in the way that they're more athletic and they were more skilled. And Arizona was pretty much, I feel like, more athletic than every team that they played for the most part last season. And
tougher.
So they were able to, like a team like Houston, I think Arizona was able to beat their athleticism, match their physicality, maybe a slight below it, but Houston just made tough, skilled shots because they had better offensive players than Arizona. Duke was like a rare combination of like, they're skilled, they're more athletic, they're just as physical. Like that was a really bad matchup for any team, really. I mean, they're the most talented team in the country last year, but specifically, I think Arizona, that was not a good matchup for them, and it ended in a loss. But it was a good effort. It wasn't as if they got blown out, and you really are like a Cooper Flag 7-point flurry before the half away from potentially that game going down to a final few shots. But it's just I think, and Sam makes this point here in the chat. Like I brought up the Princeton year being the disappointing year. That's so true, but at the same time, like that team was objectively not good. And they were a 2 seed because Tommy Lloyd is that good of a coach. And I remember saying that all season long that year of like, this team is like, these guys are, no offense, they're kind of losers. Like you had Kylan Boswell, Kirk Risa, Azulis Tabelis, or you didn't have Kirk Risa on that. No, yeah, you did. You did. Kylan Boswell was actually good that year. He was a freshman. But it was like it just was, that team was not winning anything. And so it wasn't exactly shocking that they lost that first game. You never want to lose to a 15 seed, but it didn't like shock me to my core. The rest of the teams that Tommy's had, it would blow me out of the water if they lost their first round matchup. And this next season, I think to your point, Kevin, it's like you got to have a deep tournament run. Yeah. And I think an Elite Eight is like the bar here. Yeah. You got to get further than you have in your 3 of your first 4 seasons. And that's where, we'll be real about Tommy Lloyd and his success in his tenure. Like he's got to find a way to now improve upon it, because the foundation that's been set is as good as it can be. The first 4 years are about as good as anybody's. It's in year 5. It's time to finally, make that leap to a program that is truly contending for a national championship.
Yeah, I mean, we see it in sports all the time, and I'll apply it to Tommy Lloyd here. But there reaches a point where you have a prospect at any level of any sport, and they're just showcasing so many flashes of being an all-star, perennial, contender for an MVP. But you're kind of waiting for them to put it together, and it reaches a point where you just need to see it put together, right? And I think in order to keep making the same projections at the very least, and I think that this year for Tommy Lloyd, as you've alluded to, as I've alluded to, after this year, if Tommy Lloyd disappoints in March Madness, it will force me in years going forward to look at elite rosters and be like, okay, on paper, they should be an Elite Eight or better, but very 2025 true. Told us that even if you have that, you might not make it all the way. So it kind of, puts him in a box of like, now what? How could you get people to buy in more than they're bought in on this 2025 team outside of having like AJ DeBanza and Koa Peat? You know what I mean? I feel like what would Tommy Lloyd have to do to get people to really buy in on a team if he doesn't succeed this year? Because this year's team, seemingly before they play, seems to have all the tools on paper.
Kevin, we're going to talk about next year's team and what they can bring defensively to the table. We'll do that after the break here on the AZ Wildcats pod.
I'll be at home tomorrow for our pod, but on Saturday, I will be at Gila River Resorts and Casinos practically all day at their Wild Horse Pass location. UFC 319 starts around like 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time.
No better place to watch it.
No better place to watch it than their BetMGM Sportsbook, the biggest sportsbook in Arizona, I believe. Right, Damon, I believe. Yeah, so that's where I'll be at from about 4 to 8 p.m. because at 8 p.m. I'm heading over to the Straight Game podcast hosted by our guy, Mike Bibby, Eddie House, Coach Ty Ellis, as well as Big Diesel Shaquille O'Neal stopping by Wild Horse Pass for a live podcast taping of the Straight Game podcast. This exclusive event gives fans a front row seat to Shaq's larger-than-life personality. I, for one, am excited to hear some fun Shaq stories on this podcast. Lord knows he has hundreds of them. So tickets are at retail pricing when purchased online or by phone, but discounts are available at the box office only. Get yours now. Be like me. Be like Eric Ruby. Be like some of my friends this weekend. Pop out to Gila River Resorts and Casinos, because you do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos.
Kevin, I don't like to play favorites with our sponsors, but with this one, I think I just might have to. I love Circle K that damn much. I make a Circle K trip about once a day. That was a little bit of a tongue twister, but I love making a good stop at America's Thirst Stop. I usually pick myself up some form of caffeinated beverage to kind of get me started along my day. And you guys should be too. It's also the cheapest place where you can find gas here in Arizona, across the country, and even across the world, Kevin, because Circle Ks are international these days. But they got the Inner Circle Rewards membership program. If you haven't signed up yet, guys, you just hate money. It's so simple to sign up. You get 5 cents off per gallon when you become a premium member like me or Kevin. You start off with 3 cents off per gallon, but let me tell you, it is really not that difficult to reach that 5-cent threshold. Even though it took Kevin quite a bit of time, but that's why I was ribbing him for it, because it's pretty easy to get there. They also got their fuel days. You'll save 40 cents off per gallon on those days, so be on the lookout for those throughout the course of the summer and fall. And you get 25 cents off per gallon when you sign up on your first 5 fill-ups as well. So let the savings reign. Join the Circle K Inner Circle Rewards membership program today by downloading the free app. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for details. Kevin, request when you go to the Straight Game podcast.
All right.
You take a picture of Shaq pretty close, and you just say he's tall, thumbs up emoji, and you let that fly from your Twitter account.
Do I hit him with a Shaquille O'Neal man of the hour? Do I hit him with that post or no?
Shaq.
Would that be bad
he's
etiquette?
Tall. Shaq : he's tall, thumbs up emoji.
But yeah, no, I'm super excited for that pod. Mike Bibby, as always, is going to be a good time.
You have to pick his brain, man.
I'm gonna try to have to do that. Maybe even try to like get him for a social post if that's possible. I don't know what the setup is like out there, but I'm gonna try my best for us on Wildcat Faithful at home.
If you got to ask him anything, and I know we could talk about this off air too, but I would really want to know like what his opinion is on why the elite Phoenix basketball players consistently want to go to the U of A and in the form of Koa Peat and this next team. I think that would be an interesting, kind of thing to hear straight from a guy who grew up in Arizona and is a state of Arizona legend.
Yeah, that actually might be the best question. I really haven't thought of too many, to be quite honest with you. But if I did, I think I might have to rip that one because I think it'd be great perspective from Mike Bibby, and it's really relevant these days, right? Because we talk about the overall pipeline of Arizona athletes has only gotten hotter, right? The talent pool has only gotten deeper for Arizona as a whole. So it would be interesting to hear Mike Bibby's take on just what the true allure to Tucson is for all of these high-level Phoenix athletes, because it's obvious to us and it's obvious to them because they picked the school. But in his words, it would be quite interesting, Damon. I'm with you on that.
So Kevin, we talked a lot about the defense last year and kind of how that became the identity of the basketball program last season, because frankly, they just didn't have the offensive firepower to play that style of basketball, right? And I think you saw Tommy Lloyd make an adjustment and say, you know what, then we're going to have to win by being more physical, win by, having higher effort level than the other teams. And I feel like you couldn't question any of that stuff throughout the season. Like they constantly brought physicality and effort on the defensive side of the ball, even in games like, when you think of like the really disappointing games in the season, the Kansas State game comes to mind with how poorly they shot from three in particular that night.
Dude, I'll be 70 years old, waking up in like a nursing home somewhere from a cold sweat. Just be like, 2 for 22 from three. Yeah. Impossible. And I'll just, I don't know. They'll have to get the bedpan out and clean it because that's what's going to happen.
It was 2 for 23. I
think it was 2 for 22. I'll look it up right now. Yeah, continue your point.
Kevin, it's just tattooed into Kevin's brain. He can't forget it. But that game just came to mind, right? Because even though they weren't hitting shots, it was still a close game because they were defending at an extremely high level and the other team wasn't hitting shots, right? So I love to see that. Now you combine that, as we talked about already.
2 for 22.
2 for 22.
Yep.
You combine that, like we talked about already, with a higher talent level too, but trying to keep that physicality and that defensive identity. I think next year's defense could even be better than last year's, Kevin.
I agree with you, man. I think when you put the tools that Tommy Lloyd has accumulated in this offseason, and by tools I mean elite level recruits and transfers. Well, I guess not. Sorry to Evan Nelson, but I guess that's not like an elite level transfer. But you understand what I'm getting, right? Productive, high level recruits and transfers. Don't do that.
Take it back.
I was being truthful. I love Evan Nelson, friend of the program, friend of Tucson, friend of South Point Catholic. Do the thing so I can take my shot. You know what I mean? But yeah,
does it count if you mention South Point?
We'll have to go to the rules makers on that. We'll have to get an update on that.
We'll check back after the show. We'll let you guys know tomorrow.
I think it's like line 85, rule B, something like that at the AZ Wildcats podcast. But like I said, like this upcoming roster is deep, but most importantly, it has the frame and the prototypical skill sets that you'd want for an elite defensive team, right? Like I look back on this upcoming team and I think of Dwayne Aristdode, 6'8", 220 pounds. Anthony Delorso, I know he's not absolutely huge, but still 6'6", 205, and he's bulked up this past offseason. Brayden Burries as a freshman, 6'4", 205. Bryce James is 6'5" as well. Ivan Kharchenkov, 6'7", 220. Koa Peat, we know he is an absolute beast at 6'8", 235. And then you also have Tobe Awaka.
Can he play D end?
The absolute monster that Tobe Awaka is. I actually, when Arizona basketball sent their team over to football practice, I was like, get Tobe Awaka on the line. I want to see that guy on the line.
Just batting down passes like
what
he's
he can
JJ
do.
Watt. Oh my
Mhm.
God.
Brayden Burries, his welcome to Arizona moment was Tobe Awaka boxing him out for like pretty much the length of the court, from what I could hear. And I think, this team is big, it's lengthy, it's defensively versatile. There's a lot of potential for switching, and not just switching for the sake of switching because it's what your coach, that's what he wants to do. It's switching because most of your players in this rotation can guard, I'll say at least 1 through 4. You know what I mean? Or at least 2 through 5 in some cases. So this defense is going to be versatile. It's going to be damn physical. And I think that when you add a guy like Mo Krivas to that mix as well, like I didn't even mention him at 7+ feet. Like I think that the physicality, they have the chance to dominate teams with their physicality. And they have the chance to really make a statement in the Big 12, which is maybe the most physical conference in the country, right? Like I look back on stats from last season, right? In the Big 12, they had the 4th best opponent field goal percent last year, but the 11th worst opponent 3-point percent. I don't see that being the same this year. You have too much length. I feel like the contests are going to be good enough. The athletes are good enough to make it back out to the perimeter if they do get stuck down low. And then moving on, you have the 11th worst turnover margin, but you still had the 4th best assist to turnover rate. So I feel like the transition basketball is going to be helped by the high level defense. You're going to be able to force more turnovers. And I think part of Arizona's issue last year was, like you said, the offense couldn't help the defense, right? So you're not forcing a ton of turnovers at like an elite level, but you're also not getting the elite level assists because you're just not getting as many buckets on the other end, right? So overall, the physicality, the length, and the versatility of this team, I feel like in 2025 is going to be special.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I think it's just everything that you outlined right there. Like they just got so much more size, and Kobe said it up here in the chat. This is a team that was starting 6'4", 6'5" Trey Townsend at power forward last year, who dunked probably like 8 times the entire season, and now you replace that with Koa Peat, who is 6'8" and will probably dunk 8 times a game next season. So
yeah, with force.
So it's like I just, that is going to be such a stark contrast for this team in particular. That 4 position, the 3 I think is a little bit more up in the air in my opinion. Just as we've talked about, like that being the big position battle for the starting 5 here. But KJ Lewis was, as much as he was a flawed player, he was a very good defender. He took on the toughest defensive assignment essentially every night, and he has a ton of athleticism. So you're replacing that, and I don't necessarily know who's going to step up and be that guy, but I think that you could kind of somewhat see Dwayne Aristdode being a longer version, maybe not quite as fast as KJ Lewis was. We'll find that out, but I think that maybe like the slight drop off you could see defensively at the 3 spot is so, like it pales in comparison to the drastic difference you're going to see at the 4 spot.
I mean, yeah, no, the lineup comparison size wise from year to year is something I also wanted to talk about. I'm glad you brought it up because if you look back at I believe it was the 2023-24 roster, you had the 10th best rated defense per KenPom in the country. And you look back at that specific roster, Jaden Bradley still on this roster coming up. Caleb Love is a 6'4" guard. Pella Larson is standing at 6'6". Kylan Boswell, he was a little shorter, but we know that he didn't play 6'2". I think he played. I personally think he played a lot tougher than that because
he's a stocky guy.
He was stocky. He was physical.
Yeah.
Willing to mix it up. So he didn't really play like a 6'2" guard. KJ Lewis, 6'4". We already alluded to his physicality. And then you got the big 7-footers, Umar Ballo, Henry Vesar, and Motiejus Krivas. And then that's not even to mention Kashad Johnson in that mix as well. Shout out to Conrad Martinez, 6-foot killer. You know what I mean? But that roster is a lot more comparable to this year's upcoming roster. And what Tommy Lloyd was able to do with that year's defense with guys that are still smaller than the guys that we're bringing to the table in 2025, like I really believe that Tommy Lloyd has put together the pieces to have one of the most versatile defenses in the country and have one of the most physical defenses in the country and be able to wear teams down. He consistently brings up the comparison that he wants to build a program like how Kelvin Sampson has built his program at Houston. And we know how that game looks, right? We know what it's like to watch Arizona play Houston, right? And how frustrating that is and how you can watch your team over the course of a game be tested and have their concentration tested because the physicality is so consistent. You don't have a chance to catch your breath. And I think if Arizona can emulate 85% of that mentality in 2025 with the tools that they have, they're going to be able to suffocate teams. And it's going to help out their offense because that fatigue is not just going to go away when you get down to the other side of the court. You got Koa Peat trying to back you down from the free throw line relentlessly, and he's going to kick it out to Brayden Burries, who he might kick it to Jaden Bradley. He might go through a screen, drive right into you. Like, it's going to be a nasty physical team in 2025 on both ends. I'm very excited about it. And I think that when you compare it to Tommy Lloyd's most successful defensive teams, it looks like it has the potential to be even better. And so I feel like early on, top 10 defense might be like a floor for this year's upcoming team, which sounds crazy to say. And am I crazy for saying it?
I don't think so. I mean, what was the ranking last season, Kevin?
Last season, I believe, let me check it, 38th per KenPom in adjusted defensive rating. 38th.
I mean, I don't know if I would say it's necessarily the floor, but I think that saying that that's the expectation is perfectly reasonable. To say, you know, we expect to grow upon what we started doing last year. And Sam makes a good point here in the chat. Like, if you said 2 years ago Tommy Lloyd would have close to elite level defensive teams, you know, everybody would have thought you were insane because the Wildcats were really just not very good defensively at times, especially that Princeton year that we talked about. Like, they just really weren't a good defensive team at all.
No elite defensive team is losing to Houston. Or not Houston, sorry.
Princeton.
That's incorrect. Yeah, Princeton in March Madness.
And that's the thing about defense in sports, right? Like, it's such a floor raiser for your team. You know, like I was thinking about it today in regards, I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about how the Steelers have an 8.5 over/under win total for next season. You look at the Steelers and sorry, Kobe, I know you're a big Steelers fan, so I don't want to, you know, bring any disrespect to the I don't want to put mustard on your jacket, but this, you know, like on paper, I wouldn't say, especially in that division with Joe Burrow and the Bengals and what the Ravens and Lamar Jackson do year in and year out, like, I wouldn't necessarily say that I think that the Steelers are going to have a winning record this season. But a big part of the reason why they do every year is because they have an elite defense every year. And when you have an elite defense, you don't give away games to bad teams. You know what I mean? And not that Princeton was a bad team, but when you have an elite defense, it just keeps like your floor so much higher of like, you're not going to let a team like that come in and just knock you around. And Akron, for example, was a great offensive team last season by every metric. Then they played Arizona and they looked pedestrian because they played a good defense that they hadn't seen all season long.
And to your point that, you know, defense is the true floor raiser, I think a big reason for that is, as Kobe alludes to here in the chat, an elite defense allows offensive, you know, wavering. It allows your offense to come and go as it's going to do, right? But it doesn't punish you for the natural ebbs and flows of a college basketball season if your defense is an elite level unit, right? If your defense is an elite level unit and you come out cold in the first 5 minutes, it's fine. You might exit the first 5 down a couple points, down a couple possessions, as opposed to being down 10 early on. I'm not saying that's going to be the case, you know, otherwise, or was the case last year.
It happens.
It does happen, and it happened to Arizona at points last year where you come out cold and you put yourself behind the 8 ball, right? So I feel like the elite level defense in 2025, we're talking about the floor of what the defense could be. That kind of almost dictates what the floor of the team could be in 2025 as well, right? Because I think in March Madness, when things all slow down, you bring up the Akron game, you bring up the Oregon game. Tobe Awaka's defense in that Oregon game, his defensive rebounding, his offensive rebounding as well, just all of his defensive attributes really kept Arizona in a position where they could take that game from Oregon.
Yeah.
Right? And without that defensive effort, it's just a shootout that Arizona probably loses because they were not the shootout team last year. So I think that when we're talking about defensive floors and how it helps Arizona, even if you're a freshman next year, for example, that's a great point too. Like, I know I said it by myself, but like, I haven't brought that to the table yet.
That's really astute, Kevin.
I haven't brought that to the table yet, but like when freshmen play, like you're going to have up and down moments all the time, right? And elite level defense, if they can bring it on that end, it's going to let them not embarrass themselves on the offensive end when they don't have the juice that night, right?
Kevin's just sitting there while he's talking, just going like this the entire time.
See, I misspoke because I meant to say like this would be a good point to bring up as well. And then I just said, this is a great point.
I'm really smart.
Yeah, I'm so smart. Listen to what I have to say before I even say it. I'm so smart.
Yeah. I mean, I have high expectations for this defense next season. I think that you know, when you just have that athleticism to kind of mold, shape, and play with, and you're an elite coach like Tommy Lloyd, there's no reason that this team shouldn't be better defensively than I think last season, despite their defense really being their calling card last season and kind of being the reason that they were able to turn the year around. So excited to watch, you know, the kind of them lock in physicality wise on defense next season. Anything else on the defensive side of things before we move on here to some recruiting stuff, Kevin?
No, I think we'll talk a ton about the defense and the physicality of it as the season continues to approach. But I really wanted, like you know, we talked about, I really wanted to get that out today because I don't know. I was just thinking that the defense could really be something that we look back on and say, wow, remember that 2025 Tommy Lloyd defensive unit? No one could get anything at the rim against Tobe Awaka, Koa Peat, and Krivas. And
these guys had it first.
Yeah.
And that's what people will remember most. Is,
the only thing they'll remember.
Damon and Kevin said it goddamn first. But Kevin, we'll talk a little bit of recruiting updates and some football fall camp news and notes right after the break here on the AZ Wildcats pod.
You see Damon rocking it just about every show. It is Branded Bills, the friends of this program that have the most comfortable, stylish headwear in the entire headwear industry. It's the best way to also elevate your brand. They have custom apparel and headwear just for you guys. We have our custom Phoenix hat, repping the PHNX brand as well. You can see Damon has the cactus logo that is returning to Arizona's court this fall and winter. There's a bear down hat above him as well. All the variety is there, and the Arizona campus collection exists down in Tucson at the store. Just Branded Bills exclusive looks for you. So whether you need snapbacks, truckers, fitteds, beanies, or tees, Branded Bills has you covered with not only style, but peak performance as well. So head to brandedbills.com and use code BBPHNX for 15% off your first order of the most stylish, comfortable headwear you've ever seen in your life.
Kevin, let me tell you about an app that has revolutionized the ticketing business.
Wow.
It's called Game Time. You can go on gametime.co or you could download the free app and check it out for yourself on there. But some of the things I love most about Game Time, the interface is wonderful. It's not one of those slow moving ticketing apps that makes you just, you know, kind of want to pull your hair out. It's really nice looking. It's very modern. It's very sleek. They also show you exactly where your seat is going to be before you buy your tickets. They show you all the fees included, and don't keep that for when they're in your cart at the end when you're checking out, where your tickets are like $60 more expensive than you thought they were going to be. Game Time is the only place to buy last-minute tickets, and the tickets get cheaper the longer you wait before the event, Kevin. So I did that earlier this summer, going to a Padres game, waited till the last minute, waited till a couple hours before, bought my tickets, got them at the lowest price that I had seen all the last few days. And if another event, we keep talking about it, UFC 319 this weekend. If I was in Chicago, Illinois, I would be pulling up that Game Time app and just refreshing it, waiting till closer to the start of the fight, and just see, hey, how cheap can I get these tickets? Because that is going to be an absolutely electric thing. I know we got a lot of Chicago cats out there in the world.
Correct.
Saw some U of A stuff out when I was in Chicago a couple weeks ago. You know, guys, if you're out there, check out all the beautiful sporting events there, of course, as well in the state of Arizona. We love Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time, and download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHNX for $20 off your first purchase. Sometimes tickets are less than $20, and you know what that means. Download the Game Time app today.
A little bit of moolah. You know, it might be game time all the time over here at PHNX, but also it's also time to look at the recruiting updates, because I'm never not worried about what future Arizona Wildcats we can get to talk about on this podcast. And I do have a couple updates for people here today. I wanted to mention off the top that Becky Burke continues to rack up 4-star level visits as well. A new one just dropped today. We'll have more on that if there's any actual information that comes out about it. But I did feel like, in the spirit of recruiting updates, mention that she has landed another 4-star visit. Mm-hmm. So continue to build, Becky Burke. Back onto the men's side of things, Darius Wobbington, the near 7-foot prospect that has a lot of people intrigued here in the Valley. I didn't put the face to the name, or I guess properly the name to the face, actually, because, you know, Sunny Slope versus Koa Peat and Perry in the state
versus Pete High School.
Yeah, versus Pete's Perry High School. They faced off in the finals. They're the state
renaming
finals.
Perry, I heard.
To Petey?
Koa Peat High School.
Yeah. He was the only guy on the floor that I identified that could even kind of be matched up against Koa Peat from a size standpoint at the high school level. And he did showcase some nice passing, some decent versatility on the offensive end. But to your point that we talked about off air, he's raw. He's very much raw still. 2027 prospect. What do you truly expect? They're not going to be a complete prospect just yet.
Especially due to 6'10".
Yes. You're going to be a little goofy.
15, 16 years old. You got to figure it out a little bit.
Going to be a little goofy. Still trying to learn how to drive the manual there a little bit.
Yeah.
But he does currently have offers from Arizona, ASU, Cal, Indiana, Louisville, LSU, Maryland, Purdue, Texas, Villanova, Washington, and UCLA. Very high-level offers for Wobbington, but he did speak to On3 recently / Rivals, whatever you want to call it there. And he spoke about, Gonzaga, Texas, and Louisville as well, but we're going to keep it focused to his thoughts on Arizona. And just if you don't know much about his game, this is what Darius had to say about, describing his own skill set. He said, I'm a very versatile big. I can really do everything on the court, being able to stretch the floor at my size, being able to just play inside and out and play make. I feel like it's something that is really underrated about my game. And I think when we're talking about Tommy Lloyd being the big man whisperer and being able to get the most out of his big men that come through Arizona, I think that if you can get a guy that can do a little bit of everything, I would love to see what Tommy Lloyd could do with that player. We talk about Koa Peat kind of being the first, I'll just say front court prospect that Tommy Lloyd has that can truly do a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Right? Henry Vasar, really close to that, but he didn't really have the ability to put the ball on the floor or I think play make at a level to which you felt like comfortable saying he could do everything on the basketball court. If, and this is a big if because we're talking about a 2027 prospect who has not really gotten a ton of tape out there yet, but if Darius Wobbington is able to fulfill some of this potential that he does have, he kind of maps out to be an ideal Arizona prospect in state as well, so we're talking about that at the top of the show. Maybe I asked Mike Bibby if he can throw in a good word with the Wobbington family when I'm out there on Saturday, so who knows, Damon, but he also was asked about his relationship with Arizona as of right now, and he said, I've grown up watching Arizona. It's real competitive in practice, so that's what I've enjoyed most. He's referencing his unofficial visit that he's taken. He has not taken any unofficial visits anywhere else, just to Arizona, and I'm assuming that's because it's just an hour and a half down the road. Coach TJ Benson and Coach Murphy, those are my guys. Coach Tommy Lloyd, too. I talk to them a lot. They check up on me regularly. And yeah, that is his current thoughts on Arizona. When you go through the article from On3, make sure to check it out. He doesn't say too much different about the other schools. I think Arizona's quote is a bit unique because it is an in-state school. So he was able to say about how, it's a really nice campus. Everybody's really cool right down the street from where I live. And he said, quote, I've been on a little unofficial to U of A, but nothing other than that. I haven't gone on any other visits, and he has 16 offers right now. So that is the update with 2027, I believe, 22nd overall recruit in his class. Darius Wobbington.
Yeah. So in the composite, he's 20th. According to 24/7 Sports, he's 23rd.
Okay, yeah.
Puts him at kind of that 5-star versus 4-star, right on the line there. So depending on what publication and outlet you use for recruiting news, he's either going to be a 5 or a 4, really high 4-star. But another guy who's on a long list of Arizona, elite level hoopers who seem to really be considering the Wildcats. And in Darius Wobbington's case, I think that you look at Tommy Lloyd, right, and how he's developed big men. We talk about this guy being raw, the nature of that kind of being the case with all 6'10", 6'11", sophomores in high school. But I think Tommy Lloyd probably sees him and says, that's a skill set and a frame that I could really mold into an elite college basketball player. And, hopefully it's another one in a long list. But as you put there, I think, I'm sure he spoke very highly of all the other programs, but saying in particular, I grew up watching Arizona, I think that does hold some weight. And so, yeah, I'm I'm fully expecting Darius Washington in the future to wind up at Arizona. I know it's very early and that like there's not really an indication of that, but that's just kind of where, my gut feeling is telling me in a couple of years here down the line. And yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to like see his development further, hear more about him as we move along, and kind of check in on Darius Washington throughout the season. But I know Cam Holmes also scheduled his visit, Kevin. And that was announced yesterday, and we weren't able to mention it on the show because it happened like right at the tail end of our show. But similar to Cameron Williams, I believe Cam Holmes's visit for his official visit at Arizona is the last scheduled visit that he has on his list. And like I said, in regards to Cameron Williams, I like being the team that gets the last minute ditch pitch to a guy to try to get them to go to the school. So I'm excited to hear that as well.
And speaking of Cams and Camerons, we also have an update on Cameron Williams, who ESPN's Paul Biancardi has ranked as the pretty much pound for pound, I'll say, third best recruit at the high school level.
That's more like it. That's more like it, Kevin. I was out at Section 7. People were talking about Cameron Williams, and everybody was like, there's not 10 players better than this guy.
Yeah.
I think, kind of in that top 5 range is much more appropriate. And
he could make the argument for him to be even higher, as you have this list being regardless of class as well, right? So Tyron Stokes coming in at number 1, Jordan Smith at number 2, and then you get to Cameron Williams, and this is what Paul Biancardi had to say in that blurb there about the Arizona prospect. Uncommitted 6'11" power forward, and it says, quote, might have the greatest potential of the 2026 class. His shot blocking, rebounding, and elite athletic range are eye-catching. And he goes on to say that his face-up game and maintaining consistent intensity are 2 swing skills for him to watch. And I'm excited to potentially welcome him to Arizona, Damon. Who knows? Down the road? Who knows?
I mean, that'd be electric.
It would be absolutely electric. But it is nice to see him start to get that recognition that you have been what's the word? Campaigning for him to get. And you saw him out at Section 7. But yeah, that's the update I had on Cam Williams, ranked, getting some acclaim, some plaudits, as you say. I finally get to use that word. I've always wanted to use that word since you taught me it, but getting the plaudits that he deserves is Cam Williams right now. Cameron Williams.
I think Cameron Williams is similar to Shaq, Kevin. Tall. That was my main evaluation when I saw him in person. We're gonna kind of round out. That was our recruiting update for you guys. We'll round out this discussion with some football news and notes, according to our guy Justin Spears. We'll do that in overtime here, Kevin.
Welcome back.
So Trevor asks the question: do you guys do a show in Tucson for the Red and Blue game? We don't have anything scheduled or in the works in terms of that, but we do have some stuff in the works in terms of some live shows potentially happening in Tucson, kind of during the football season, definitely, when it comes to some preseason basketball stuff. So keep on the lookout for that. We're really excited about some things that we're going to try to get going here with, in accordance with the university and, kind of with that relationship. And we're excited for it.
Extremely excited for it. And like Trevor, alluded to, it might not be the Red and Blue game, but we do have loose ideas of what we could be able to do for potentially preseason basketball stuff down there in Tucson. And hopefully we get some players in there as well. So we're working on it. We're plotting it and planning it out. We definitely want to be in Tucson with some presence, with some live shows down there for the people that we love so much in Tucson. And like Damon said, we are going, bringing the boom. And the defense... Elite transition. The defense was bringing the boom last night at Arizona's 12th practice. We get this from, obviously, our guy Justin Spears doing the best work down there in Tucson for,
as always,
the Arizona Daily Star, written, coming on this show, doing it all. Busy man.
The utility man.
The utility, the 5-tool Spears, 5.
Long snapper.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Long snapper.
That's one of the 5 tools.
He can do it all.
Everyone knows that. Writing, podcasting, long snapping, eating canes. And shoot, what's the 5th tool?
I mean, we'll figure it out. Pickleball? He got roasted by Tommy Lloyd on SportsCenter about pickleball.
I feel like he's like a good meme reference guy. Maybe like memes could be that 5th tool. I don't know. We'll
figure it out. Maybe we'll let him decide what his fifth tool is next time he pops on the show. But the main takeaway, Damon, that from his notes was that the defense was dominant last night at that practice, which they did have some weather issues with lightning. I know that we talked about it when Spears came on the other day. In fact, yesterday, he asked us, "Hey guys, is it rained up there?" And we're like, absolutely not. Last night though, it poured out by where I'm at, Damon. So shout out to Spears. But like I said, they had some weather issues down there in Tucson related to the practice last night. But when they were able to play, the defense was dominant. They produced 5 interceptions, 2 of which were tipped off the pass catcher's hands. Safety Quinn Olson intercepted quarterback Noah Fafita, and that was tipped off Chris Hudson's hands. Safety Genesis Smith, underdog of the entire conference, I'll say, also picked up an interception in the practice. Javion Cole continues to impress as well. He had a pass breakup in that 7-on-7 period and also had an interception that was off the hands of Tyler Powell. So you love to see the defense dominating. There's also Michael Dansby, who got an interception in the red zone in like a goal-to-go situation. And then Jabari Mann, a freshman redshirt linebacker, actually got some reps with the first-team defense. I think that's pretty notable as well. He intercepted walk-on quarterback Mason Bray for a touchdown and a tackle for no gain. And the leanest, meanest Savainea on Arizona's campus these days, Julian, had 2 sacks in the final team period yesterday night as well.
Julian Savanaya, I think, could have a really good season next season for Arizona in particular. And that is from my expert analysis of he looks like he has completely transformed his body in person. And that's really all I needed to see. I mean, I heard Joe Salvea talking him up a little bit as well, talking about how he was kind of a smaller interior defensive lineman last year, and he was still taking on the brunt of double teams whenever he got playing time. And kind of was learning how to work around that. Now he added that size to his frame and that lean muscle mass, and now like the sky's the limit for a kid like that. So I'm excited to watch kind of the Savanaya pipeline continue at Arizona. But in general, I think it's, I don't know. It's the same question I asked Justin yesterday of like, how do you truly value what's going on at fall camp? How do you value watching your defense dominate versus watching your offense really struggle? And is it more of a factor of your offense is not going to be good, or your defense is truly like special, right? And so the answer is probably somewhere more in the middle, right? As with all things, like it's probably a gray area of like, well, maybe the offense still has a decently long way to go, but the defense is looking like fairly like ready for the season. And it seems like, maybe Danny Gonzalez and crew have them on good track. But I do just love the way in which that it was talked about that the defense was not only were they dominating, but they were letting them know while they were dominating with a lot of extracurriculars, a lot of verbal stuff after plays. And hopefully, I knowing Seth Dagey the way that we know him and just in terms of talking to him a handful of times, I would venture to guess that just fires Seth Dagey up when he wakes up at 4 a.m. this morning for his workout. Like, oh man, so that's what we're doing today, huh? All right, well, let's give it right back to him. And that just motivates Noah Fafita and the rest of the offense that much further. So you love to see that competition heating up. And I think that you saw it with Danny Gonzalez and Seth Dagey when they were on our set at the spring showcase. Like, those guys are hyper competitive with not only for their program in general, but against each other with their offense versus their defense. And they want to beat the hell out of each other each day at practice. And that's what drives, both of them and hopefully this roster to really figure some things out in 2025. So, I think it's probably a good thing and, like rising water lifts all tides, but you never know at the end of the day, truly.
No, yeah, you never do know. And part of the, allure with this upcoming defense is that change, right? The mentality shift, right? That's not only taking over the offense, but it's taking over the defense, that choosing violence mentality. And I think the extracurriculars, I love it. I love it, especially at this time of year where the team that has that chip on their shoulder, it shows you that it's real and that it's not just a put on and that it's not just something that they're telling you is there. The chip is real and they're showing it to their teammates when they make a play. They're letting them know about it and they're letting them know that, hey, We're going to be doing this to all the teams in the Big 12, and you are no exception. So get ready for it. We're going to be here every single night that we are practicing. And I think that when you talk about, guys like Javion Cole having impact, guys like Michael Dansby having impact, it kind of goes to show that and this is what kind of Spears alluded to when he came on the show yesterday. It kind of shows you that over the course of months with this Arizona team, that depth chart could do a lot of this, do a lot of shifting. It could be very fluid throughout the course of the year because there are so many impact players, at least that we're seeing in fall camp right now for Arizona football, Damon. And one of the areas that you especially have wanted to see some maybe improvements, the wrong word, but you want to see some consistency.
I want to feel confidence.
Yes, confidence. You want confidence instilled in you. Well, I have a special teams update as per our guy Justin Spears, and let us know if this instills any confidence in you as of Thursday today. Arizona kickers Michael Salgado Medina and Tyler Prajun both went 3 for 4 last night, kicking field goals.
Shocking.
Salgado Medina missed from 40 yards out, but made a 35, 44, and 48-yard field goal. Prajun, his miss was from 44, but he made 35, 40, and 55-yard attempts. And moving the needle in any one direction for you, Damon?
Not really. I mean, the 55-yard field goal is impressive. I will say that. But it's, again, like we talked about with Justin yesterday, it's like it doesn't feel like anybody is taking hold of this position. And every time I check the practice notes and talk to people that are in and around the program, it seems as though they just consistently are matching each other every practice. And not necessarily in the way of like, well, we have two kickers that are just absolutely automatic and you can't really go wrong. It's more in the way of like, well, they're generally decent, but sometimes they miss kicks that they probably should make. And so that's why we still have this position battle. I don't know, man. I'm not filled with confidence about this kicking situation. And I got to say, I definitely am. It's on my radar heavily going into next season of like a thing that we might really be debilitating for this team.
I hope, and this is no shot at Michael Salgado Medina, because I'm about to, speak to my hopefulness that I can make a certain joke coming up. I would love to Photoshop Tyler Prajun as a prosciutto and call him the Prajunto. And I need that to happen. And so for that to happen, I need him to really, get his ass in gear. Not to be mean to him, but I need him to focus and lock in so that I can make a damn joke about some Italian meats, some cured meats, Damon. I need to make my damn cured meat jokes, and I can't get those jokes off if we got Salgado Medina out there because there's not a single cured meat that sounds like Salgado Medina. So it puts me in a box, and so for that reason, I think I'm Team Prajun as of today. And like you said, that 55-yarder on an actual football note is the only thing that I read from the special teams update that I think is truly notable. Right? Like I think the 55-yarder, it doesn't really instill confidence in me, I'll say. But I will say it's got my eyebrow raised of like, okay, he's able to hit from 55. Can we see maybe a couple more from that range get hit into some practices? And then I'll feel maybe confident in Tyler Prajun specifically and having the leg and having the consistency to do it. But yeah, like Sam Albert says, basically it's not any clearer than it was yesterday because these two guys can't stop making the same amount of field goals in practice.
Yeah, certainly. And it's definitely going to be something that we're going to have to continue to monitor as fall camp kind of goes into its final stages here, Kevin, with 17 days before the Arizona football season, which, of course, we are fired up for and ready to bring you the premier Arizona Wildcats coverage for. And, we'll be doing our post-game shows on Saturdays. Might as well just say this now, I feel like, and just let the folks know that are here and that are holding strong an hour and 13 minutes into the show.
These are the folks that love us most.
Yeah, our blood brothers and sisters, as we talked about. But, we're going to take Wednesdays off during the season. We'll be doing Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then, of course, Monday and Tuesday. So that will be the show schedule: Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday during the football season. And we are excited to bring you the around-the-clock coverage on Arizona football. Feeling good about the season. Getting excited for it, Kevin. That's going to do it for us today. That was your Arizona basketball and Arizona football updates for the rest of, Thursday. We'll be back on a Friday, remote, as Kevin said, because we are moving studios. It was, a great time doing this show in this studio, Kevin. I don't want to necessarily say it's sad to say goodbye, because I think we're all excited to get to the new
hyped.
studio.
So
and
hyped.
The new studio, I think, is going to be pretty sweet, and it's definitely going to be a positive for the content that we can give you guys at PHNX Sports. But it's a little bittersweet. This is where the show started, first ever show, right in these exact seats right here, using these exact mics, Kevin, and it's all we've ever known. So we'll be branching out, leaving the nest. Appreciate everybody for rocking with us along the way. Last ever show here at HQ2 in Studio A. Blessed and honored to be the guys that brought it to you guys today on a Thursday. We'll be back on a Friday at 2 p.m. Make sure that you guys are there for that one. Of course, everybody have a great rest of their day. You can follow me at Damon Dog, that's CAWG. You can follow him at Kevo Post, that's KEVOPOSTS. And you can follow us at PHNX_Wildcats on Twitter, where we're always defending the Wildcats, even against some of the evilness that is breeded from this office in and of itself, Kevin. But appreciate everybody for being here today. Like of this video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll catch you later. We'll catch you on a Friday show at 2 p.m. on the AZ Wildcats pod. Peace out. Bear down.
Farewell, HQ2. Go Cats. Tommy Lloyd is the face of the Freedom State.
We all silly like the mayor.